Oh, hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Michael Boy. I'm here with Read, Remember, Repeat, and we just want to let you guys know, we could be doing something selfish, things for ourselves, right? But we started a charity, and this is very unselfish on our part because what we want to do is give back to the kids, the youth, the orphanage, the homeless, the people that don't have those new ideas because they're stuck in a revolving door. So what we want you guys to do is definitely reach out to us. This is the link right here. Help us save a life. Click the link in bio. Read, remember, repeat. And we are back, gang, to the night show. The night show of the Read, Remember, Repeat series. I hope everybody is feeling well. I hope everybody's day was amazing. My day was amazing. There are some days that are up and there's some days that are down, but if you don't have down days, then you definitely don't know what it feels like to have an up day, you know what I mean? And how to manage an up day, right? I think that's key right there. So we are on a new book, Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. And this is the secrets to freedom and success, right? He's the author of Think and Grow Rich, the best-selling success book of all time. And we're hearing a little bit about his story, but he's going to go into deep context of, how to outwit the devil. I think we all need this right here, so this is perfect timing. Let's go. For proper perspective, 3,156 in 1918 would represent 45,000 today, based on the consumer price index average for each year compiled by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2002. 202,000 using the nominal GDP per capita tables. Not a bad profit for a first year in the magazine business, when 80 to 90% of new titles fail and even the successful ones take 3 to 5 years to become profitable. Some years later, I learned from an experienced publisher that no man experienced in the publication and distribution of national magazines would think of starting such a magazine with less than $500,000 of capital. Remember, he had no capital. The Golden Rule magazine and I were destined to part company. The Golden Rule magazine and I were destined to part company. The more we succeeded, the more discontented I became, until finally, due to an accumulation of petty annoyances caused by business associates, I made them a present of the magazine and stepped out. Through that move, perhaps, I tossed a small fortune over my shoulder. This was only the beginning of Hill's love for magazines. The Golden Rule was followed by his publication of the Napoleon Hill magazine. Later in life, he became the editor of Success, a magazine that is still published today. Next, I organized a training school for salesmen. My first assignment was to train a sales army of 3,000 people for a chain store company, for which I received $10 for each salesman who went through my classes. Within 6 months, my work had netted me a little over $30,000. Success, as far as money was concerned, was crowning my efforts with abundance. Again, I became fidgety inside. I was not happy. It became more obvious every day that no amount of money would ever make me happy. Without the slightest reasonable excuse for my actions, I stepped out and gave up a business from which I might easily have earned a healthy salary. My friends and business My friends and business associates thought I was crazy, and they were not backward about saying it. Frankly, I was inclined to agree with them, but there seemed nothing I could do about it. I was seeking happiness and I had not found it. At least that is the only explanation I could offer for my unusual actions. What man really knows himself? Again, I became fidgety inside. I was not happy. It became more obvious every day that no amount of money would ever make me happy. I could have written this about myself a few years ago, but when I took action by leaving a situation that, although financially rewarding, was no longer aligned with my personal mission, new doors of opportunity opened for me. It turned out to be the best decision of my professional life. Can you think of a time in your life when you made a difficult decision but knew it was the right one even when others questioned you? That was during the late fall of 1923. I found myself stranded in Columbus, Ohio, without funds, and worse, still without a plan by which to work my new way out of my difficulty. It was the first time in my life that I had actually been stranded because of lack of funds. Many times previously, I had found money to be rather shy, but never before had I failed to get what I needed for my personal conveniences. The experience stunned me. I seemed totally at sea as to what I could or should do. I thought of a dozen plans by which I might solve my problem, but dismissed them all as being either impractical or impossible of achievement. I felt like one who was lost in a jungle without a compass. Every attempt I made to work my way out brought me back to the original starting point. For nearly 2 months, I suffered with the most of all human ailments, indecision. I knew the 17 principles of personal achievement, but what I did not know was how to apply them. Without knowing it, I was facing one of those emergencies of life through which Mr. Carnegie had told me men sometimes discover their other selves. My distress was so great that it never occurred to me to sit down and analyze its cause and seek its cure. The worst of all human ailments, indecision. That's the worst of all human ailments, indecision. Have you ever felt paralyzed by indecision? This was the first major turning point in Napoleon Hill's life. His moving from job to job, seeking contentment in his own ideal professional life, sounds like many people today. People who are seeking contentment, people who are seeking contentment in their jobs and lives. Hill's predicament was, by his own admission, self-inflicted. However, he found himself in very much the same circumstances as someone today who had been negatively affected by the present economic situation. Hill took advantage of his temporary defeat, using it as a spur to force himself into thought and analysis, to find his other self. If you have been dealt a blow by economic circumstances, you can too use it as a lever and motivation to find your other self. Family, this is the time of the show where we call it the sauce. So we're going to sprinkle some sauce and then we'll be right back. You already know.
No matter what you say, no matter what you text, no matter what you email, no matter what you post, you will never make everybody happy. So choose to make yourself happy. Speak your truth, stick to your guns, and as you build your personal brand, if you piss off some people along the way, guess what? They were never meant to follow you in the first place. No matter what you say, no matter what you text, no matter what you email, no matter what you post, you will never make everybody happy. So choose to make yourself happy. Speak your truth, stick to your guns, and as you build your personal brand, if you piss off some people along the way, guess what? They were never meant to follow you in the first place. No matter what you say.
And we are back, family. I hope y'all, you know what I mean, took that sauce, put it on your burger, put it on the chicken, you know what I mean, and let it marinate. We are on page 12, Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil. Stay tuned. The book is getting good. Let's go. Defeat is converted into victory. One afternoon, I reached a decision through which I found the way out of my difficulty. I had a feeling that I wanted to get out into the open spaces of the country where I could get a breath of fresh air and think. I began to walk and had gone 7 or 8 miles when I felt myself brought suddenly to a standstill. For several minutes, I stood there as if I had been glued to my tracks. Everything around me went dark. I could hear the loud sound of some form of energy which was vibrating at a very high rate. Then my nerves became quiet. My muscles relaxed and a great calmness came over me. The atmosphere began to clear And as it did so, I received a command from within, which came in the form of a thought, as near as I can describe it. The command was so clear and distinct that I could not misunderstand it. In substance, it said, the time has come for you to complete the philosophy of achievement which you began at Carnegie's suggestion. Go back home at once and begin transferring the data you have gathered from your own mind to written manuscripts. My other self had awakened. For a few minutes, I was frightened. The experience was unlike any I had ever undergone before. I turned and walked rapidly until I reached home. As I approached the house, I saw my 3 little boys looking out of the window of our house at our neighbor's children, who were dressing a Christmas tree in the house next door. Then I recalled that it was Christmas Eve. Moreover, I recalled with a feeling of deep distress, such as I had never known before, that there would be no Christmas tree at our house. The look of disappointment on the faces of my children reminded me painfully of that fact. I went into the house, sat down at my typewriter, and began at once to reduce to writing the discoveries I had made concerning the causes of success and failure. As I placed the first sheet of paper in the typewriter, I was interrupted by the same strange feeling which had come over me out in the country a few hours ago. And this thought flashed into my mind. Your mission in life is to complete the world's first philosophy of individual achievement. You have been trying in vain to escape your task. Each effort has brought you failure. You are seeking happiness. Learn this lesson once and forever, that you will find happiness only by helping others to find it. You have been a stubborn student. You had to be cured of your stubbornness through disappointment. Within a few years from now, the whole world will start through an experience which will place millions of people in need of the philosophy which you have been directed to complete. Your big opportunity to find happiness by rendering useful service will have come. Go to work and do not stop until you have completed and published the manuscripts which you have begun. I was conscious of having arrived at last at the end of life's rainbow, and I was happy. Doubt makes its appearance. The spell, if the experience may be so-called passed away, I began to write. Shortly thereafter, my reason suggested to me that I was embarking upon a fool's mission. The idea of a man who was down and almost out pursuing to write a philosophy of personal achievement seemed so ludicrous that I laughed hilariously, perhaps scornfully. I squirmed in the chair, ran my fingers through my hair, and tried to create an alibi that would justify me in my own mind in taking the sheet of paper out of my typewriter before I had really begun to write. But the urge to continue was stronger than the desire to quit. I became reconciled to my task and went ahead. The urge to continue was stronger than the desire to quit. Remember that time when you wanted to quit, but something drove you to keep going. It may have been your other self. Wow. Looking backwards now, in the light of all that has happened, I can see that those minor experiences of adversity through which I had passed were among the most fortunate and profitable of all my experiences. They were blessings in disguise because they forced me to continue to work, which finally brought me an opportunity to make myself more useful to the world than I might have been had I succeeded in any previous plan or purpose. For almost 3 months, I worked on those manuscripts, completing them during the early part of 1924. As soon as they had been completed, I felt myself again being lured by the desire to get back into the great American game of business. Succumbing to the lure, I purchased the Metropolitan Business College in Cleveland, Ohio, and began to lay plans for increasing its capacity. By the end of 1924, we had developed and expanded by adding new courses until we were doing a business nearly double the best previous record the school had ever known. Again, the germ of discontentment began to make itself felt in my blood. Again, I knew that I could not find happiness in that sort of endeavor. I turned the business over to my associates and went on the lecture platform. lecturing on the philosophy of achievement to the organization of which I had devoted so many of my previous years. One night, I was booked to lecture in Canton, Ohio. Fate, or whatever it is that seems sometimes to shape the destiny of men, no matter how hard they may try to battle against it, again stepped into the picture and brought me face to face with a painful experience. In my Canton audience sat Don R. Mellett, publisher of the Canton Daily News. Mr. Mellett became so thoroughly interested in the philosophy of individual achievement on which I lectured that night that he invited me to come see him the following day. That visit resulted in a partnership agreement which was to have taken place on the 1st of the following January, when Mr. Mellett planned to resign as publisher of the Daily News to take charge of the business and publishing of the philosophy on which I had been working. However, in July 1926, Mr. Mellett was murdered by Pat McDermott, an underworld character and a Canton, Ohio policeman, both of whom were sentenced to life imprisonment. He was murdered because he was exposing in his newspaper a hookup between the bootleggers and certain members of the Canton police force. The crime was one of the most shocking that the Prohibition era produced. Family, we are on page 16. I am beasting to finish this with you guys, but at the same time, this is our time, and we don't want to give y'all too much right now. We want you to stay tuned, you know what I mean, and collect some of your thoughts. So let's go. Page 16, Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. Let's get it. Read, remember, repeat.